on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC reality check, and you don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. It's a collab, and we've lost Guapo. We don't quite know when we're getting Kristen back. Hopefully this weekend. Jake DeMarco, say what's up, buddy.
What's going on? I was going to see if the Penis Maker could make an appearance, but he's busy apparently fighting crime.
Dear. I hear the Penis Maker has an exclusive contract to the Joe Cronin show. That we tried to cut through some of that red tape, it just didn't work. I'm going to be incredibly rude to Jake.
Contract.
I'm going to be incredibly rude to Jake and stick in a little programming note. All things being equal, by the end of this weekend, you guys are listening to this on Friday, obviously. Hopefully, Kristen and I are going to get together. We are going to talk about the end of Loki, finally, and we're going to talk about the first episode of What If, which I fell asleep halfway through the other night because I was busy. So, hopefully, FlixFix will get back up on its feet. We will pull Guapo out of the abyss at some point, I'm sure. There's an Impact Wrestling joke in there somewhere that I'm not going to touch. Jake, I'm going to throw it to you, buddy. Why don't we let you tell the wonderful people watching / not watching but listening what we're doing tonight?
We're kind of, just looking at all of the WWE released stars and where they fall and kind of what, what's going on and where we would put them and where we could use them. And I mean, not just them as well, but, people that have also been added to some other factions as well. So we're kind of making our own little fed here. Yeah.
I was going to say, the main point, and it's definitely an idea that I ripped off Twitter. I'm not even going to pretend that it's an original thought. Several months ago now, several WWE release cycles ago, somebody put a meme up of all the people that had been released at that time and said something along the lines of, isn't it crazy, you could probably almost make a wrestling fed out of all the people that they've released.
Just about.
And so I said to Jake, as I usually do, hey, what do you think of this? Why don't we fantasy book a wrestling fed out of all the people that they've released? To be perfectly honest with you guys, I'm not a news guy. If you guys want news, go talk to or go watch Good Mic Work. Go watch what Jake and Joe do over on the Joe Cronin show. I'm not particularly a news guy. I definitely don't want to give you guys video after video after video of, well, these 10 people got released and that sucks. Well, these 50 or 60 some odd people got released and that sucks. I wanted to do something a little bit more creative and a little bit more positive, and because so much time has gone by, we can talk about it as we go. So many of these people that we like / are excited about have landed on their feet elsewhere. But as a collection of people, specifically, I'm calling this sort of the COVID and forward timeline, is probably the best way to say it, because you'll notice CM Punk is not on this list, for example. For obvious reasons, Velveteen Dream is not on this list. I don't really want to spend any more time talking about the Diddler. Many apologies, but some of the more ancillary people that I wouldn't have much to say about, some of the writers, some of the producers, some of the backstage staff, some of the coaches, some of the people from the PC that we never even got as far as NXT, are not on this list. Not because of any form of disrespect, only because Jake and I, unless Jake has seen them somewhere else, really wouldn't have anything to say about them, so it wouldn't really be fair. What we are going to do, however, is we are going to talk about this like we're building a brand new fed. We're going to talk about the fantasy divisions and all that type of thing. I've got, main event, mid-card, lower card, whatever. If you think that somebody that I've put in the low card deserves to be in the high card, or vice versa, please just understand that this is a list that I threw together, and this is just basically my opinion. I've obviously got some input from Jake along the way as well, because he's my very, very well-valued co-host. But that part of it, like where everybody is on the card, is all opinion at the end of the day. I really, really would love you guys to throw that in the comment section down below, get a conversation started, etc. But if I put somebody in the lower card, it doesn't mean I'm saying that they're shit. It means that the lower card should be more important than any wrestling fed really treats it. I don't think there's any... You can go to AEW, you can go to WWE, you can go to NXT, you can go to Impact. Those are basically what I watch. I don't think any company right now is showing the importance of their lower card. I'm trying to fix that a little bit. So hopefully you guys understand that. We're going to go through each sort of division, talk about who I've slotted in, who the fictional first champions and challengers would be, etc. And I'm hoping Jake's got some different opinions than I do, because if Jake just agrees with me on everything, that would be really boring. Then we'd have to bring in the penis maker.
No, I'm not a Spaz, smoocher either. So
it's true.
Let's see what happens here. But yeah, you and I mean, for as much as we align, we disagree enough as well, which I kind of enjoy. So
I don't think we even
like certain things. We kind of stray from that at times too. But
I just think that more of the
we'll get into absolutely.
I just think it's more along the lines of sometimes you and I see the same thing from the completely opposite side of the coin, and you give me perspective, and I like to think maybe I give you perspective too.
Damn Canadians.
But well, yeah, it's let's not do that tonight. The first category I'm going to go into is not really going to have champions per se, because I've sort of put it in the very lazily labeled category of other/backstage. These are people that are not necessarily going to be fighting on our show. These are not going to be like people chasing championships or whatever. They have something to contribute in other non-competitive ways. So I'm going to run quickly through the list, and then Jake and I can sort of go through more intricately once I've given the initial list. I've got Kurt Angle, Cain Velasquez, Matt Hardy, Kathy Kelly, Renee Young, Lana, The Big Show, Mark Henry, Maria Kanellis, Mauro Ranallo, Billy Kidman, Mike Chioda, Fit Finlay, Drake Wirtz. Yes, I know it's controversial. Get over it.
I don't like him either, so that's someone I wouldn't include.
Lance Storm, Daivari, Shane Helms, Tom Phillips. I mean,
I wouldn't have Drake in there just because he seems to be much of an asshole at this point, but I'm fine for him having free speech. That's not the issue, but the way that he goes about it,
Oh, yeah.
there's clearly a problem.
No,
Still,
it's like,
though,
no.
Everybody released there. I mean, I wish that, realistically, I could have, had they not hired Eva Marie back, I would have really liked to add her to that list. But I think she might be being let go soon anyways, down the line. I keep hearing that Gargano and Candice are being let go over and over and over again, and that worries me.
Actually,
Now we hear the announcement that that they're having a family, so Candice obviously is not going to be wrestling. Congrats to them. But really, the only one that hasn't accomplished everything in NXT is Candice. Johnny's done it all as far as titles, matches. I mean, you name it, what has he not accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
So the only step for him is to go up, and Vince clearly is not interested in him. He said it before. He doesn't want aging vanilla midgets, and that's his quote, not ours. I'm just kind of baffled how he doesn't see a star in Gargano, but either way, NXT isn't going to give Candice the finally time for her to be the champion, which I wish she got to hold the belt at least once. She deserved it so many times over. I don't care and never really cared for Joey Ryan, but I loved watching Candice LeRae's matches in PWG.
And see, you had to tell me about the Joey Ryan thing, because I was obviously it's not in my wheelhouse. WWE, which includes NXT, AEW, because it's the thing right now. I'm just dipping, like I say, people saw me previewing Slammiversary. I'm just dipping my toe back into Impact, which is
she was the Mae Young of their federation at that point in time, for lack of better words, in the sense that she told you, hit me for real or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
She didn't want to be treated like a female. She wanted to be treated like a wrestler. And, I mean, the Young Bucks are sweet chin, super kicking her with a boot that has all of the spikes, the thumbtacks, glued onto the bottom of it, and she takes the full shot to protect Joey Ryan. And it's a real shot. She didn't get the blade for this. She's pouring blood out of her head. Yeah. And she goes on to win the match by herself when Joey gets taken out. Like, time and time again, she shined. And I'm very surprised that she never got to be that top talent. But think about how many people she put over along the way in NXT.
Yeah.
So I think that they'll be.
I think about how intricate she is to the evolution and rise of somebody like Io Shirai. Because their friendship led to Io Shirai's turn, and then Candice turned later on by the time Io Shirai was face again.
Even Tegan Nox and Shotzi and Dakota Kai.
Yep. Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell's the obvious one, yeah.
But I'm saying, everyone really has to go ahead and, that's what it comes to. So.
Anyways.
So, yeah, this other backstage list is interesting because Angle's a good choice. You always want him for whatever, either a mentor or a GM or even just an interviewer. You can find a million roles for him. Cain Velasquez could be a good enforcer.
I was going to say, I just want to, sorry, I know I just cut you off there. There are a couple people, Kurt Angle's going to be the primary example, that I would hire in like a non-specific role. Like I would hire him to basically be like the Swiss Army employee. We need somebody that...
That's how I view him.
Yeah. He can do, like, depending on what kind of character, he can help some people with character work because he's got good timing, he's got good comedy, whatever the case may be. Somebody with a more amateur style, pro wrestling style, Kurt Angle, like, who's better? We have seen him do the onstage authority figure thing. Something we've never seen, but I would be at least curious about. I would love to see how he is on commentary. Because I think
now, here's the thing. With him being, and I don't want to derail this whole thing, but really quickly, him being the GM worked so well at times and was piss poor in others, but if you notice, the only times it was bad is when they overloaded his concussion-filled brain with all these stupid lines that he had to say over and over. And then we'd get things like Stephanie McRand, because he'd be so lost for words.
But see, even I will say, I'm going to stick up for him here though, because even then, even when he was tripping over himself, he was A, so confident, and B, so like quick on the pickup that he could like have fun at his own expense. Because remember, like the big thing was he always said double E. Like, so even the stumble wasn't a stumble, because if you can stumble and bring it back, that's better than not stumbling in some cases.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like the same thing that we always say. You call a woman fat once, she'll always remember, because an elephant never forgets, and that's why we go ahead and make sure.
He wanted to have that bestiality sex with Booker T's wife.
That's right, baby.
I'm gonna sort of speed through these because I took us off on a bit of a tangent there.
I mean, we don't have to go through each choice here. But
no.
A couple of notables is Renee Young.
Some of them are obvious.
As an interview role, I mean, absolutely, she'd be great for like a backstage show.
Kathy Kelly, Renee Young. As
Rhea
backstage
Kanellis,
people or hosts.
I would have her be the head of the female division. I would make her a female GM, so they each have their own GMs.
Who is that, sir? Oh, Kanellis, yes, for sure. I would love to see...
would be my main commentator.
For sure. Mauro Ranallo and Kurt Angle.
One of my head producers.
Mauro Ranallo and Kurt Angle would be it would be a commentary team that I would at least want to experiment with. Mark Henry and the Big Show.
About it.
Mark Henry and the Big Show, if they're not going to be on-stage characters, like, first of all, congratulations to them. They've both landed on their feet in AEW. We'll see how that goes on Rampage, which is going to be possibly over by the time this goes out. But I would have them specifically there to coach the big guys, because I always get the feeling that you need big guys to teach big guys, because only they know what it's like to be and I mean like the huge guys, like the Odyssey Jones type guys. Like,
yeah, well, whatever, our second show is, too, you can also have them be the...
commentary,
the backup, basically. You could take Big Show and Mark Henry and put them together, because that's what Rampage, as you said, tomorrow, or now tonight when this airs, we'll go ahead and we'll have the first episode from Philly in the books, and we're going to get a match from, Britt Baker against Red Velvet. That's going to be pretty epic, I'm sure. Just because of the crowd interaction that's going to happen. The Terrible Towel is alive, but
there you go.
Point being, I'm intrigued with this, and that's one of the things that we could get. We're seeing this really cool iteration of a new commentary team tomorrow. Big Show, Mark Henry, Jericho, and Excalibur. They all have at least 20 years experience on the mic, some more.
The four-man booth is going to be interesting. I'll give them that. But imagine this: other than Big Show and Mark Henry,
booth, essentially, plus Excalibur.
Right. Other than Big Show and Mark Henry for our division, which I'm going to call the Released Wrestling Federation. So it's going to be the
I love it.
Released spelled with an R, or spelled with a W rather. So it's going to be the Released. It's going to be the new WWF, because WWE is WWE. Now, yes. I said bring in Big Show and Mark Henry to coach the big guys, but for the broad spectrum of the roster, Billy Kidman, Fit Philly, Lance Storm, Daivari, Shane Helms. Would you like some coaches?
Yeah, we're perfect there.
Tom Phillips, maybe put him on backstage interviews. Wouldn't be too shabby. I said Kurt Angle and Mauro Ranallo as your commentary team. Get Kathy Kelly and Renee Young in like proper hosting roles, like before and after, or maybe on some of their social media stuff. We all know Renee Young didn't like her experience on like play-by-play commentary type thing, but when she did the pre-shows, it was great. Kathy Kelly took over from her. She was great. The two of them as a pair, if you see them on social media, like they support the hell out of each other. So I think you could get a lot of really cool stuff out of them, even if it's just to make a blip on the social radar.
Ryder, and if we're going into the tag area, and when you get to this spot, we've got so much. I was going to say riding on tag team wrestling, and I wasn't even looking for the pun there, but I'm looking at the list and going through the names: Ryder and Hawkins, Gallows and Anderson, the Revival, AOP, the Clones, Blake and Murphy, Breezango, Everrise or 2.0 now, and the Bollywood Boys. And the ones that I'm honestly quite excited about is Ryder and Hawkins, because Kurt has this new serious edge to him as well.
He's the deathmatch champion or whatever.
I know. Ryder is the deathmatch champion at GCW right now. So you bring that into this angle and have them be like the people that wreck shop, really come in and they're not going to have straight up fights. They're always going to interfere in the matches, and they're always going to be, because they're pissed off and that kind of thing. I think that could be. And when they do fight, it's death match. If you're going to do it, you bring in that crowd.
I think you get a cool thing with them, because I said this for a while with Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox. They were a great babyface team.
Yeah.
Dakota, obviously Nox had the physical tragedies that she's had. We've talked that to death. In the meantime, Dakota Kai made this awesome heel character that we're looking forward to seeing a takeover. If Nox had come back as a heel, to have that face team now fully reunited as a heel team would have been cool. I think you could definitely play up a story with Hawkins and Ryder, because Ryder's already trying to be as anti his WWE character as possible.
And they have the podcast together, the wrestling action figure.
Of course,
so that works well with all of their streaming and video game. They could really build up a following with this and have a lot of inside jokes, and I think it would. AEW is good about capitalizing on internet buzz, but we're going to be great at it.
Well, yeah, obviously we're just going to be obnoxious on Twitter and break all the rules. I do want to say I do want to do the quick rundown thing again, because diversity is the key thing in wrestling, right? And I think it sort of loses some of its meaning in tag team wrestling. I will give it to AEW. AEW's got a pretty diverse tag team roster. I can't really say with a straight face that they don't. But you need.
They just don't utilize all of them enough.
No, that's true. But you need power guys. You need technical guys. You need high flyer guys. You need comedy guys. You need some of the guys that work that more generic pro wrestling superstar style as well. So if you go Ryder, Hawkins, Gallows and Anderson brings them instant credit at this point. Revival are the Revival. AOP, I don't think we saw everything AOP can do. I'm not saying that they're tippy top of the thing, but they deserve another shot. The Colones were always solid. Blake and Murphy, when they separated them, they never really got back on track again. Murphy did the thing with Aaliyah Mysterio. Blake went and got, guilty by association with Jackson Riker, who's the only one that didn't get let go.
And is the only one to actually say anything. And see, I wouldn't. That's my one issue or discrepancy here that I have with you, is that I would not have them be a tag team. I would not put Blake and Murphy in the team together, even though they have the history as a team.
Yeah.
I simply wouldn't touch that. I would let them, because I think there's so much to offer with them as single stars.
And see, here's my thing, right? And I halfway agree with you. When they were a tag team in NXT, when they were managed by Alexa Bliss, obviously you guys know I'm a fan of Alexa Bliss, which puts me on an island. It's fine.
No, because I really enjoyed them then as well.
No, see, I'm the opposite. The best thing about their act, the best thing about their act in NXT was Alexa Bliss. I found them boring as shit in NXT. when they separated off, when Murphy started doing his own thing, specifically when he had his feud with Aleister Black, who we're going to talk about much later. But like Blake went off and sort of molded into this other thing. Like the Forgotten Sons never really got a chance to be anything, but you know he sort of toughened up his style and put a little bit more oomph into it and whatever. They went their separate ways and became more interesting. So now I want to see if that would change my opinion of them as a tag team. Now
that makes sense. Okay.
And I mean, let's be real here. Like, everybody wants to see her released. I don't want to see her released because I'm a huge fan of her and people are mean enough to her already. But if they were stupid enough,
no one wants to see anybody gone.
If they were stupid enough to release Alexa Bliss, like get the Blake from the Forgotten Sons, the Murphy that was fighting with Aleister Black, and the Alexa Bliss we have currently. And put the band back together. I think that would be great.
Now, if they had her, then I'd be okay with them as a team.
Yeah.
But if you can't do it all together, then don't do it at all.
And when you need to lighten the mood, Breezango, Everrise, Bollywood Boys.
Yeah, and Everrise, hell of a team, doing the 2.0 thing. They've had some, I don't want to say high profile, but higher profile matches now in AEW, and they've done quite well for themselves, I think.
They went to Dynamite on their debut night, found themselves a partner, and called out Kingston, Moxley, and Darby Allin.
Yeah, I mean, they got their asses beat.
For sure.
Then,
like,
of course.
Mox, Kingston, and Darby looked like the best rock band you've ever seen on their farewell tour, and they were just like so jazzed to be chilling with Sting. Like that wasn't even a match; that was just a bunch of people hanging out, honestly.
And they were so excited that Sting was there. Like that was pretty damn cool.
And if you saw and I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. If you saw the Cruiserweight Classic 2, you'll know that both the Bollywood Boys, I know they renamed them so many times, I'm not even gonna try. Both the Bollywood Boys can go. And they play a comedy role.
Serious abuse too.
And I mean, they'd be great foils for like a Gallows and Anderson or a more hardcore Hawkins and Ryder and whatever. Because as I said before, like the bottom of the card means something. Like if you've got somebody at the top, they need people to beat up. And if we were going to put our heads together and we were going to figure out how to give the ultimate push to AOP, we are going to do it the right way, not the way WWE did with the Ascension. We are going to make them the legit new Legion of Doom. We need somebody that can go splat for them. And we don't have Ziggler because Ziggler's still with WWE. So Bollywood Boys will splat for them. Everrise will come up and say, "Do you want a piece?" And then they'll say, "Yeah," and thwack them. Even Breezango, who are like criminally underrated as wrestlers, would splat for them if they needed to. And I mean, put them in there with the more beloved tag teams like the Revival, like the Club, Gallows and Anderson, the Super Elite, whatever we're calling them now.
Well,
and I mean,
and that's the thing, when they were the Club, like I don't know, they had it, but they didn't. It's just because WWE didn't know what to do with what. They didn't know what they had with them.
See, the thing with Gallows and Anderson in WWE is I think the fans got to a point of, hey, that match is going to be really good. Let WWE bullshit and talk out of their asses and figure out how we get there. I'm just going to watch the match. And if that doesn't describe how SummerSlam and TakeOver feel next weekend, I don't know what does.
And that's the problem, because after a while it just got to be, all right, we're going to get this match, but...
Yeah.
And,
honestly,
and because they relied on that formula so heavily, it just continually did not feel unique, enjoyable, any of the lovely little adjectives we want to throw in there, but you get the point.
Yeah. But anyways, no, like I say, we do have a lot of people here that have fallen back on their feet again. Hawkins and Ryder, we've been over. Gallows and Anderson are making paychecks in Impact and AEW, I think, at this point, or at least making the towns between those two shows.
It's one contract, but they do get extra pay for it, so...
FTR are what they are on AEW, like RIP Dax Harwood's arm.
That was painful. I've never actually seen anyone get caught on the turnbuckle like that before, so that was pretty...
I don't like that they showed that slow motion of it being pulled out.
Yeah, that was what they were going for.
I know, but that was... It's like when they show people's real x-rays. If you do a Johnny Gargano, oh my god, my arm is so broken, look at the x-ray, and it's clearly fake, that's fine. But you and I have talked before, like, if people get injured, I don't want to see their legit X-rays, because that's going into the weird place in wrestling that like most people.
I get that to a certain extent. You know,
I
didn't
need to see him.
If they choose to share it and it's not being
no,
forced to,
of course,
then that's their own. You know.
Oh no, I'm not saying they're wrong to do it. I'm just saying me as the person watching in that moment, I don't need to see that personally.
Yeah, exactly.
But you want to talk about people never being caught on the hook like that? I'm pretty sure that's how X-Pac tore his asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, just to finish off my point, we don't know where Authors of Pain are. We don't know where the Colognes are. We have the rumors about Murphy going to AEW.
And what the hell with the Colognes, especially? I mean, AOP, we knew there was an injury, and then they let them go. So, all right, whatever.
The Colognes stayed around forever, though.
Yeah, they were there forever, and then Primo and Epico both had, what's his name come back? Their cousin.
Yeah, they had Carlito, and Carlito lasted for a sneeze.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just so confusing as to, like, all right, what are you guys planning here, and how is this working?
But it was so fun. Like, the Colognes were a funny thing as well, and I don't want to laugh at them because that's not the point.
No, but them doing the Puerto Rican timeshare, that was good.
I don't even mean that. I just mean the fact that you look down the WWE roster. Like, if you went to WWE.com, right, and look down the roster, and you go down to the bottom, and you're like, the Colognes, does the WWE even know that they still work here? Type thing.
Exactly.
And that became the joke. But it's never about, like, hey, go fire them. But, like, and they were like, the Bollywood Boys and Breezango or whatever. Like, Breezango I put on a different level slightly. But, like, even if they're not in a top story, they're just solid. If you're pushing another team, put them in there to be the other team in the ring. And they're good at that.
The Bollywood Boys had more to offer. Breezango, had more to offer than the Bollywood Boys,
for sure.
No doubt. But.
Well, Breezango offered two different enough characters that you could do singles stories with them as well as recognizing them as a tag team. I don't think you can necessarily do that as much with the Bollywood Boys, the Colognes, etc. The last one I really want to talk about touch on one more time is Everrise, who are now 2.0, who seem to have all the way landed on their feet in AEW, which is kind of awesome. But I mean, here I'll throw it out here, and we'll try to do it as we go along. If it was me personally, I'd make our first champions Gallows and Anderson just because they're a really well-known name.
And then it's always better to have heel champions first, because then you could build baby faces around the heels.
Yeah, and I would honestly
always works great. And you know what? I would love to have FTR
as the Chasers,
there, managed by Cornette. And since Cornette was fired by
that's true.
He was released.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm claiming him.
Okay, fair enough. I'll make a little side note. Okay, guys, you want to know how much fun we're having this right now? Spaz actually made a spreadsheet. This is how much fun we're having with this. Honestly, though, and I get Revival versus Gallows and Anderson would be great. As a story, though, that would be a lot of fun and a lot of, like, who can take the piss out of the other more. Give Gallows and Anderson the titles and let Everrise be the Chasers.
Yeah. Imagine what the Young Bucks do, when they see Cornette on the other channel with FTR. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk the lower card, and by lower card I mean the lower singles men's card. Not probably going to spend nearly as much time on these guys, but Gentleman Jack Gallagher, Heath Slater, No Way Jose, who just landed in Impact, Tucker, Alexander Wolf, Aiden English, who just landed in Impact under his real name, Mojo Rawley, Steve Cutler, who's now
the Drama King.
No, Steve Cutler is now Steve Macklin.
Yeah.
Is now Steve Macklin, who's doing a weird I don't like people that have friends thing. Bo Dallas, Lars Sullivan, Arturo Ruiz, Mike Kanellis, Cassius Ohno, Curtis Axel, who has been spotted backstage at SmackDown recently, apparently, so this might be a comeback story. Tony Nese, Arya Daivari.
Somebody said he was just visiting, but...
Yeah, but of course they're going to say that, right?
Yeah, well, with him, I don't think they'll take him back again.
Oh.
What are they going to get out of that? I don't mean it in a negative manner, but it seems like...
Honestly, put him in the Ziggler role and let Ziggler take one more shot at having an actual run.
That kills me inside to hear. I'm so beyond the point of caring about Ziggler.
That's fine.
Sadly.
I get it. I'm not going to fight that. I know that's a losing battle on my part.
You're not in a bad mindset there. Having someone new to be the, I don't want to say expendable, but the new
the solid guy. Like
Yeah,
I was just saying with the Bollywood boys, like when you're pushing somebody else, you need another body in the ring, but that body in the ring needs to be important. It's like I always go back to the Natalia example, but like they're not giving her a title push, but she makes everybody else look great. You're telling me a Curtis Axel couldn't do a role like that for sure. And then rounding out the list, Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, Tyler Rust, which really surprised me. Leon,
that was really devastating because they just did the Diamond Mine thing.
Yeah.
And...
Leon Ruff and Ari Sterling. The only reason I'm putting Ari Sterling on the list is because
Leo Rush.
Leon Ruff. Oh.
Say, didn't he retire, Leon Ruff?
And then I put Ari Sterling at the bottom because I've seen Alex Zane perform at Destiny. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. He's got a little bit of young Jeff Hardy vibe to him. I like him. I'm really bummed I'm not going to see him on my TV.
No, I agree entirely.
I don't have much to say about this group other than we talked before we came online. Create an actual lower card title, like the European title was back in the day. I don't know what it would be for us, but it was call it the number 3 title or something. I don't know.
Well, I would say that because WCW, obviously, they had their light heavyweight because that was and then their TV title, and WWE brought in their own, or WWE had the light heavyweight because they had their cruiserweight, and that, WWE was trying to rebuttal that. Same thing with the European Championship, and I don't know. That title never really felt important, but it could have. There were certain times where it started to get elevated. Like I remember D'Lo Brown had a good run with it.
Yeah, I think I don't think that was necessarily much for the title. Like I think he did cool things while also being the champion. I don't think those cool things necessarily helped the title, if that makes sense. And then they just I
felt like they could have elevated it, but it just never got there because the title took a back seat really more than anything, and that's what I was trying to get across with my broken brain here. But no, that's basically what I'm getting at, and you're spot on, is that the title was never pushed. It never went anywhere. And sadly, it could have been important.
Well, the problem was they did the thing with Kurt Angle where he was the Euro Continental Champion, and it just sort of became like this other thing that people held that also held titles that were clearly more important.
Something like, Becky Two Belts should have been important feeling, but it didn't feel that way to me because it was just like, neither of these belts are really like, if you unified them at that point, maybe it would have been more.
See, that worked for me because I'm a huge mark for Becky, and if I'm a mark for somebody, then I believe what they believe. And I believe she believes that the 2-belt thing was important. The 2 belts were just a symbol of her winning the first female WrestleMania main event, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. How much
the company had stock and faith in her.
Yeah.
But even she, I feel like, is not at a point where she's indispensable either. Everybody feels, replaceable at this point, sadly. I mean, if you told me in 99 or 2000, like, they can get rid of The Rock at any point, I'd be like, no, that's crazy. That would never happen in a million years.
But right now, if they got rid of Roman Reigns, like, it would probably be the most surprising, but would you be actually surprised?
And Roman Reigns just clapped back at them huge, too. Actually, let me find this quote, because I guarantee you haven't heard it, and it's friggin' hilarious. He says, he was talking about...
what are they going to do, not have SmackDown with me or something like that?
Yeah. So you did hear it. Good. He's like, what are they going to do?
I saw the quote on Twitter,
next week? Just like I did at SummerSlam last year, I'll go home. It doesn't matter to me. Let's see how they do without me. And I love that because I know it's his role, but he's friggin' right.
and it's true.
Yes.
Like, that's the other thing, right? It's like Cena, when he was still burying people, also making fun of people talking about the golden shovel.
Yes. I can see them having Cena be released, too, after this run.
Yeah.
I know they won't because they get more value out of him still.
Mm-hmm.
But if any point in time anything negative ever came out about John, or all those years of service don't mean anything to them. They will let you go instantly if it serves them better. And they pay John a lot of money. He obviously makes them a lot of money, so it's dual-fold. Granted. But
when was the last time a really, really big tag team to come up from NXT was super over on their debut?
The Ascension was really over initially.
Oh no, I mean as far as like if you fuck up, you're out.
Oh,
Enzo and Cass. Like,
yeah,
and Enzo was innocent. Like, that's the thing that kills me. Like, there's a lot of stories these days about how Big Cass, now W. Morrissey, got over a lot of personal shit that he was dealing with, and I'm really happy for that dude. To see him and what he's doing right now in Impact is fucking amazing as, like, an uplifting story. But, like, the way Enzo got fucked and then got fucked because he got fucked because he got fucked, and now has just told the world to fuck off is kind of brilliant. But, like, no, they don't care if they make the company look, or if they even think you're going to make the company look bad. You're done.
Gone.
And if you're making too much money, then
years down the road, we're going to see them treat Cena how they treated Ric Flair and Big Show, and it's just not going to matter. And if you try to tell me, I'm crazy, then I mean, look at everybody that
Ric Flair just got his release.
Yeah.
Like the father of
and
the
I know
quote
he's
unquote
paying a lot of hookers and child support still, but
oh my lord. So I'm not going to go down every star like we did with the tag team division because I mean I think most of these names speak for themselves. Everyone on this list has something to offer, right? But I'm not going to go do a deep dive on Tucker.
No,
I'm not going to. I don't think
exactly.
we're going to either. Like there's totally underrated cruiserweights in there, like the Tony Nese, the Arya Daivaris, and stuff like that. Here's what I'm going to say. For the lower card, whatever we're going to call like the number 3 title, go ahead, put it on the one monster I've got on this list, put it on Lars Sullivan, and do one of two things. Either have Ari Sterling go after it as this kid that, as far as the mainstream wrestling is concerned, kind of came out of nowhere and shocked the world and destroyed the monster, or have Curtis Axel come in and, oh my god, it's that guy that did Axelmania, and do a big long redemption thing of like, here's this guy that was really fucking lame until WWE released him, and now he's toppled the monster. There's the two stories I tell, and everybody else in between, like your No Way Jose's and your Aiden Englishes and your Bo Dallases, all had like quirky enough characters that they could spin off into side stories. But as long as you've got the monster and one or two people trying to bring them down, I think the lower card is set.
Now, I like your monster idea. I just wish it was Braun in that spot, not Lars, because I wouldn't use Lars. He comes with so many problems and so much baggage and so many just weird issues and a lot of inflammatory history that makes people not exactly comfortable around him, especially backstage. I'm not being
I can see that.
hyper-vigilant, like, PC person. That's not me, but I've never openly cared for his in-ring ability anyways. So now when you go ahead and you have him doing this bullshit, I really just couldn't give a damn. So.
Oh no, and that's totally valid. But if I was running a company, first of all, definitely my company wouldn't be PG. We would be all over like acknowledging the real world as well as the kayfabe world. So the crowd there would be obviously, if we're running a show, the crowd's going to be a smart crowd, right?
Yeah.
So they would know.
I imagine it would have to be.
Oh my God, how could you put a belt on this guy that did all these things? Is your number 1 layer. Your number 2 layer is, oh my God, how could you put a belt on that guy? He's not even good in the ring. That would be like putting the belt on Big Show in 2021. Oh my God, anybody get it off him. Like, make him so detestable in real life and in the kayfabe of the show that virtually anybody that takes it off him is instantly over. Then you give that to a recovering Curtis Axel or a debuting Ari Sterling. Like, I acknowledge everything you're saying, but I'm kind of being the scummy, like, circus promoter that's going to use every little bit of that hate to get this. And if you get that much hate on him, which gets the good guy that much over, then that belt means something. Then you've got a third level title that means something.
Absolutely.
Shorter list, so we can have.
Hold on, really quick before you get to the next subject.
Sure.
I'm sorry, my brain's all over the place today. My damn Chiari is really hurting me, so trying to focus on everything is not happening. Add a little weed on top of that, and I'm basically in a fog. But so what I was going to say before is that you're absolutely right, because if you have a lower card title, a mid card title, and a main title, I think that's a bit too much. But I like the idea of having your lower card mix in slightly with your mid card.
Yes.
Because the bottom of your lower card, or bottom of your mid card, can go into the lower card, and the top of your mid card can go into the main card.
Yeah.
So that's why the mid card is interchangeable and so important. They can go between. I wouldn't have the main heavyweights, your main wrestlers, your main event people, go. You know, the Aleister Blacks and people like that. I wouldn't have them go to the lower card, but I would have them every now and again fight people from the mid card. So.
Unless, and we're going to get to the main eventers shortly, I mean, people listening are basically going to know the kind of names that I have in the main event scene. But if you've got like a super over, like John Cena but done properly babyface that's like super altruistic, I think you have to find a way to do it that makes sense and doesn't seem like put on. I definitely think you could have something where like a Mike Kanellis. I'll give you guys one spoiler. I do have Daniel Bryan as one of my main eventers. Big shock. But would it surprise you at all if Daniel Bryan said, "You know what, Bo, you haven't got the low card title yet, but I've seen you in the gym. I've seen you on the combine. I've seen you on the, you're sparring every day. You're the first person in the gym, last person out. Come on out there with me tonight. Let me help you show them what you can do." There's your exception to the rule that you're making that makes absolute sense. But if you've got like a super like white meat babyface in the way that the crowd is totally into it, that's when you make that one exception. That's when the guy at the top can look at the guy at the bottom and say, "Hey man, come on, let me give you a shot." In that rare incidence, and you can't do it too often. Anyways, I think I lost Jake. Did I lose Jake?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Let's not even pretend that there's not a jump cut there, because when I put this together, there's definitely going to be a jump cut there.
Oh, we knew there.
Technical issues abound, but yes, I think for the most part, slide one level down, not two. Then when you do make that one exception, the exception becomes absolutely huge. Now, speaking of sliding one way or the other, like sliding into my DMs, sliding from the lower card to the mid card. The mid card's a lot smaller, obviously giving us a big lower card that can grow. Mid card, once again, I'm going to run through the list. Yes, I have a couple names on here that were named in the speaking out thing, but nothing was ever proven and nothing was ever released, so screw it. Leo Rush, Travis Banks, El Ligero, Eric Young, Kalisto, Eric Rowan, Bronson Reed, which boils my ass.
Yeah, that one's really upsetting.
Bobby Fish, and Jake Atlas.
Another one, but at least Bobby Fish has done quite a bit. He's been important. He's been in big roles, and you know what I mean. With Bronson Reed, he talk about someone like headed into what could have been something huge. What a disappointment to me. You know, they really went ahead and dropped the ball with him, I feel like.
Yeah, but he's already calling out Miro.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, man. I have mixed feelings on Miro. This is not a disrespect thing, but like I've got mixed feelings on the Miro thing on AEW right now. But I'm all the way in if you want to main event a show with Miro versus Bronson Reed.
Absolutely. And
for one night only.
Reed win.
For one night only, WWE has to lend AEW, what's his name, Bad News Barrett, just so that he can say Tsunami.
Yeah, I know that is the sad part that we won't hear that again. You know.
But anyways, I got a couple of, like I say, some bigger guys in there, the Eric Rowans, the Bronson Reeds. But here's where we get into some of our more technical favorites. And Leo Rush to add the speed, Eric Young to add the unpredictability factor. I'd really love to see what Eric Rowan can do outside of WWE. Because when he showed up for the Brody Lee tribute on AEW, I was kind of hoping that they'd brought him on, even if he was just there to go and be a body for the other big guys, per se.
Yeah, allegedly he didn't want to be because he was worried that it's just another big guy. And it's funny that CM Punk said he was worried that when Tony Khan first spoke to him that it was just going to be another, like, you know, man with money shill that ends up having a wrestling business fold up. He didn't take him seriously.
Yeah, but now he sees where the wind is blowing and where the cash is going to go.
Yeah, now he's like, oh, money, I get that. I
was going to say, don't get me wrong, I'm as excited for CM Punk as everybody else, but let's not pretend why he's coming back. Don't over-romanticize the situation.
Not at all.
Fuck, especially when if his first match is going to be Darby, man. That's going to be fucking insane.
I know.
Hey,
And
we've
it's
got a
funny,
new
too,
show
because
on
Darby,
Friday nights we need to promote. Let's just throw Darby Allin and CM Punk on there. Jesus fucking Christ.
I guess that might be either on the first night or at All Out. I think they're going to have him debut
I think
that
the
night and have the
confrontation
match at
is
All
going to
Out.
happen at All Out, and it's going to be like a last-minute thing. And it'll be, I think that as an advertising thing, to advertise something that big late on the Friday night of the pay-per-view weekend is going to set Twitter on fire all day Saturday. And it's going to, I would not be, and this is not hyperbole. You guys know I'm not exactly out here to kiss AEW's ass, but I wouldn't be surprised if that doubled their buys. I really wouldn't.
For All Out, yeah.
For All Out, for sure.
And especially Daniel Bryan's coming soon, we know. I mean, that's definitely going to happen.
But yeah,
it's a lot to consider. That's for sure.
I've had my negative and positive things to say in the past about Lio Rush. I don't agree with some of the things that he's done socially or some of the views that he's put out socially, but at the same time, he was the guy in NXT that resurrected that Cruiserweight title. Like, I can't take that away from him, right? Travis Banks is your NXT UK equivalent of Sami Zayn. I really
like Lio Rush as well, and Banks is good too, but
he's the only Banks in wrestling that matters. Ligero, I never knew how to take Ligero. Great in the ring to watch, but he's so different, and the like non-Spanish luchador thing always intrigued me. The mask was a little much.
I get that.
I mean, Eric Young, enough said. Kalisto, super underutilized in WWE. Definitely could have been part of that revitalized cruiserweight division in an instant, along with the rest of the what were they called, Lucha House Party as well.
Yep.
Eric Rowan, even if he's just the big guy to knock down, even if he's our version of Kane, would still be good. Bronson Reed would be the absolute tippy top of my mid card. Bobby Fish, another great technician. I don't want to put him in the Ziggler category, but you know anybody else that goes up against him is going to look fantastic. And Jake Atlas is athletic as fuck and has a finisher that everybody likes to meme.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a move, and I mean,
I would love.
They have a lot of all those names. There's a lot you can go off of, and there's a lot that could basically be accomplished with just that portion of the roster alone. You get what I'm saying? I mean, just those people.
The combinations you can get out of this group alone are.
That's enough for an hour show each week. I mean, that is your 205 Live, essentially. That's all we would need.
Now, okay, I'm going to let you go first because then I'm going to ask you what you think of my idea. Who's your champion and first challenger for our mid-card division?
All right. Champion, mid-card, let's see here. Ooh. I would go, since we're going with a heel tag team, right? Wasn't that or at least what I was saying?
We said Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, either that or the revival if Cornette can join them. You know, give FTR the actual new Midnight Express rub. I would personally I like your idea with Rowan because he could be a heel or a face. But think about this: Eric Rowan comes in. Bronson Reed is the heel, messing with Eric Rowan and saying you're only good because of Brody Lee, like really attacking him. Eric Rowan gets a ton of cheers, and Bronson Reed gets eventually, not toppled, but they have, their big fight. So it ends up being a real close call. Eric Rowan wins, but they can have a succession of matches with a really good feud, I think. Those two big men, both agile, both impressive. I think that would be a hell of a way to kick that off.
Okay. I like it. Mine's similar. Going back to the old, I used to watch TNA every week, when TNA was in its sort of golden era before WWE took all the people that were good. I've always...
And Hulk Hogan showed up to ruin the rest.
You know what? Guilty pleasure or not, there was some stuff that they did even in the Hogan era that I enjoyed. Maybe not because it was great.
Yeah.
But I will say one person that I liked as a babyface, liked as a comedy character, liked as part of a team, really, really started to love when he became a real evil asshole son of a bitch, was Eric Young.
Yeah.
And see, here's the challenge that I'm going to put to my writing team, because it's hard to book a babyface heel dynamic when the babyface has the size, power, and strength advantage, right?
That's very true.
Have Eric Young as our first mid-card champion, chased by Bronson Reed.
I like that. That's actually, I think, a little bit of a better idea than mine, because then you can go ahead and use that after the fact and have Eric Rowan challenge later. And
because ever so slightly,
like Eric
right?
Young as well, but I didn't watch much TNA, so
Right.
I only saw glimpses of him here and there, and what I saw I didn't really care for, because I wasn't seeing the good of him. I was seeing the garbage towards the end more.
Oh, okay. You've probably seen a lot of. Have you seen like way back with like the Team Canada stuff and all that?
That, and then the stuff towards the end with the Hardys were still like there just before he left, that wasn't good. So
if you get a chance to check out Impact now with his faction, Violent by Design, who I'm not really a fan of the other guys in the group, if I'm not going to lie, but when they first brought Eric Young back, they were pushing him like as the psychopath. They were sort of giving him a Ciampa at his worst vibe. I mean, different because it's Eric Young, and Eric Young has.
He looked crazy, and his gravelly "I drink battery acid" like Lemmy voice is interesting to have. Like, it all just works. So
you want to look at Bronson Reed as the guy who's bigger, stronger, could like smother Eric Young in the ring, but Eric Young he's a psychopath. He's got the killer instinct. He's just like play the story out that the only reason Eric Young wins is because he's willing to do like the most underhanded shit that even the other like you'd have to set it. You'd have to go with a cross the show story where Eric Young does things in the ring that even the other like main event heels don't do.
You would have the main event like the really bad heels. It'd be like the Young Bucks coming out to stop Kenny, that kind of idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that.
But I think it's such an interesting challenge for a storyteller to have the big dude be the sympathetic babyface that, like, if it was my company, if it was our company, if it was like our writing team or whatever, I want to give our writing staff like that kind of challenge.
Yeah, I could see that working out quite well.
And I mean, if you look at that division, those are your champion and challenger, and you've still got, like I say, Jake Atlas, Bobby Fish, Kalisto, Ligero, Travis Banks, Leo Rush under that. So I'm excited about our mid-card. One thing I'm going to have to kind of put together, because I have women's and women's tag, but I only really have 3 women's tag teams on this list. So we're going to run through the list of women, and we're going to touch on the tag team thing briefly, and then we'll just move on, because this women's division is insane.
It is.
Let me do the rundown. Let me spin the wheel. Ruby Riott, we know where she's going. Zelina Vega came back. Kairi Sane, we know where she is now. Sarah Logan's being a mom. That's awesome. Deonna Purrazzo, current Impact champion. Serena Deeb making her bones in AEW. Tenera Conte shining on AEW. Killer Kelly just got signed with Impact. Jazzy Gabbert, I don't know what she's doing. Mickey James is having her feminist pay-per-view. Awesome. Vanessa Bourne is doing her own stuff. Chelsea Green is there with her guy. Jessamine Duke, Santana Garrett, Kavita Devi, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Marina Shafir, and most recently and heartbreakingly, Mercedes Martinez. Now, out of all of that, you get the Iconics, you get 2/3 of the Riot Squad, and you get Shafir and Duke.
I take the Iconics and I don't turn them into a tag team. I have Peyton Royce managed by Billie Kay.
Okay.
And then I would go ahead. I would have Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir be the bodyguards / muscle for Chelsea Green.
See, my thought for them, because
she could say, like, I don't want to get injured again, and she could play off of that, and she can continually be that bitch, and now she's got the hired help to stop everybody from, interfering, and then she'll go after the title from Ruby Riott.
There we go. I like that. My thing is if the way we played out the tag team division earlier, if we're bringing in Psycho like Deathmatch Zack Ryder and that's her guy, what other protection does she need? That was just my first thought. I'm really hesitant to put Shafir
death matches. Like she could adopt some of his style and go ahead and become sadistic because he's sadistic. So that's why she would become this dastardly evil heel as well, because that's what he is. So
right, but also like if I'm running it, and I'm pretty sure you're on the same wavelength as me, as long as everybody's like consenting and everybody's comfortable and whatever, like you're cool with intergender matches.
Oh, absolutely.
So just have it where like, okay, Chelsea Green's got a match, but if somebody like wants to fuck around and find out, like Ryder comes out with a light tube or something.
Yeah, exactly.
My thing with Shafir and Duke is, on the one hand, I don't want to have them be somebody else's goons again because they just got out of that with the whole Shayna Baszler thing.
But they never really got to do much. I mean, NXT a little bit, but
that's my whole point. Like that's why I'd be hesitant to make them just somebody else's goons again.
I'd have them be introduced that way, and
right.
then make them like an actual tag team.
Right.
But the reason we hold off is because, hey, look at this. You know, we're not sure how they're and let the crowd be reintroduced to them so that they matter once more. And I think that could be beneficial too, because a lot of people aren't familiar with them as they are with some of the other names.
Oh no, and that's fine. But see, what I was about to say is I'm entirely a hypocrite, because as soon as I said I'm not going to make them somebody else's goons,
yeah,
then I look up and down and I see who else has the MMA background, and I'm like, the two of them and Killer Kelly would make a hell of a trio.
Yeah, no doubt about
it. Like, as much as I want to do this and let them do this because they couldn't do this before, we could do this again with this and it would be good. Like,
exactly.
I'm going to be a hypocritical booker. Like, it's great.
But see, I'm a hypocrite at times, too, because I'll feel one way for certain things, but then I'll completely disagree and be there for others.
Of course, yeah. And specifically with
like,
Riot...
Oh, you're ridiculous. I thought you didn't like that. It's like, well, no, it also matters by context and feel, emotion. You know, if this made me feel a certain way, then maybe I would like that said stuff. Oh, you don't like death matches. Well, I don't, but... I did enjoy what Jericho had in that, you know, Labor of Jericho feud, and what they pulled off was good.
Right. It's like I don't listen to rap, but if I hear a rap song that, like, I find catchy or whatever, like, I'm not barred from liking that one song. I find it the same thing. I think a really important thing as well, and I meant to mention this when we were talking about the tag teams earlier, I would really make it like, tag team wrestling would have to be a priority, but also anybody in either of these tag team divisions can have a singles moment at any moment.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I thought we were making tag teams a priority by what we said before. Like, that was...
No, but there would have to be both, right? Like, you can achieve all, like, Gallows and Anderson as our champions, right? Doesn't mean that, like, Anderson can't one day go and follow Eric Young and take a shot at the crazy guy with the mid-card title. Like, a tag team isn't necessarily a set of handcuffs, like that kind of idea. Definitely do the same thing with Riot and Logan, because I would like to see them as a tag team, but I want to see Ruby Riot see some singles success as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I would have them come in, and you could do one of two things. You could have them team up and then do the turn, but that's kind of expected for a heel turn, or you can just ignore the history, and I don't feel like that's always the best. So option C, which doesn't often get utilized, is mutual respect. Hey, cool, glad to see you again.
Yeah.
And then they move on.
Yeah. If you need backup, I'm here, but, like, I'm going to do my thing over here now.
And before we do run out of time, the main event here is really what I was looking forward to, and we've got some.
One thing I wanted to stick my idea in here really, really quickly. There's a bunch of big names, and people know that there's people I like in here, like Ruby Riot, Zelina Vega, all these people that I'm incredibly biased towards. But the very first feud that I want to see for our women's title is actually Kairi Sane versus Tenera Conti.
Ooh, yeah.
Face versus face, total respect. Make it a tournament thing, so you don't have to worry about the face heel dynamics and whatever. Have the final be Kairi Sane and
people say it's blasphemy, but I think, take Conti as well. But you can do even heel versus heel matches too, really, if you want to.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of heel champions already, right? So if you put the belt on either Tenera Conti, who's a really feel-good story, or Kairi Sane, who everybody loves, and let your Zelina Vegas and your Ruby Riots chase them, we do need some heel chases in there too.
Well, that's why I said I would likely do it that way and have Ruby be a face, or if you're going the other way, then have her chase as a heel.
I would love to see Ruby Riot as a heel, like,
and a good face.
And not a snappy, snarky, like, WWE Riot Squad heel, like a proper, like, vindictive heel.
Well, what she did before, I can't remember her Lovelace and some other stuff.
Heidi Lovelace,
and I went back and watched some of her old work. What did WWE do to her?
And see, the thing is, though, even though WWE watered her all the way down, I still enjoyed what she did. So that's a big testament right
Oh,
there.
I still did as well, but it was not.
Yeah. You almost
anywhere
don't.
near
You almost
what
don't
it
want to
could
see
or
what they
should
did
have been.
before, because then the WWE stuff is just like I don't want to see
I wasn't
Shotzi
aware
on the
of it
main
then,
roster, but
so
I wanted to see Shotzi and Ember versus the Riot Squad for sure.
Yeah.
It would have been a different iteration because it would have been Liv Morgan and thing, but even still, that would have been good. Liv Morgan we would steal from WWE for this as well. Anyways, you want to run down the main eventers?
Yes, Braun Strowman, EC3, Aleister Black, Rusev, Andrade, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, Killian Dane, and Bray Wyatt. So basically, like 8/10 of AEW there, right?
Right. The one that people are gonna maybe have issue with for me, like on this list, is Killian Dane. I think Killian Dane has main eventer written on him.
Big Damo is absolutely a main eventer. If you watch what they did with him in WCPW, I know that's a crazy thing to say, but him working with Blampier, Adam there,
Yeah.
and being that ultimate badass, and he was perfect. He had so much charisma, and then they got to the whole sanity thing, and then that failed, and then he went to UK, and then but he has a really interesting in-ring style. You saw the charisma when he was with what's his name, Drake Maverick.
Yeah.
Drake Maverick, and of course Bray Wyatt. What more needs to be said about
Bray
him?
Wyatt with his clean-shaven face.
I know, what a look. That
Trippy.
is a shock. And then Daniel Bryan, we know him and Punk are going to AEW, but granted, if we had them, that would be, what more do we need to say about him or Samoa Joe? The ones I really want to talk about are the first few. Now, Braun Strowman, they had a monster, and they had a good monster, and when they started off, they had a uniqueness with him. I remember his debut. Do you? On the main roster?
When he first because he first debuted with the Wyatt family as the Black Sheep.
Yep, and that stands out to me. I was like, that man is fucking massive.
And see, it's the opposite for me now, because they ruined him so much. They ruined him so much after that I have to actually think back to how did he debut.
Yeah, but see,
well, technically he debuted as a Rosebud.
Yeah, but I'm saying
but then again, so did Becky Lynch.
Yeah. So we go ahead and we get him choking out the Shield, pretty much. Roman's unconscious, and Ambrose as well. And you're like, holy shit, this is nuts. We've never seen, really, to this point, nobody besides Lesnar had manhandled Roman like that.
Yep.
So it was really shocking and very interesting, and I was like, wow. And then they just started, feeding him to the wolves and did a lot of silly stuff with him, but they never gave him the title when people were hot into him, and then by the time people were over him and they made him turn heel, then they made him champion. So it didn't feel warranted for him to beat Goldberg. Everyone knew that he was just a Roman replacement, and he got a bad rap because of WWE's creative. Aleister Black, same thing. He put so much detail and work into every storyline that he actually matches his gear to the mood that he's in to his opponent's gear. It's crazy that he color coordinates to that level.
Well, you talk about Wyatt's promos, the ones where you could link one line from every promo for, what was it, like 6 months or something like that? I really...
Can you hear me still?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. It just did that weird thing again. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much to it that we really can have, and it's just, that's the thing with Braun. They just ruined him. They ruined him time and time again. Aleister Black, he puts so much detail into everything. Like I said, color coordinating, and Rusev still has the greatest, or one of the greatest, WrestleMania entrances of all time with the tank. And he should have won that match. So many times we say this. Andrade putting on great matches in NXT could have been more on the main roster, just like everybody. So I think we've got a great starting main event roster here. And believe it or not, my first champion is Aleister Black.
I could buy that. I think with everything else we've done, like
as a face, we're going to turn him heel later.
Okay. Like, we started off with the tag teams, and we said Gallows and Anderson because it's a well-known name. I think you take the gamble. I think this is where we do the opposite of what AEW did. This is not a shot at them. This is just me doing the opposite. Look at the list, take the most well-known names and sort of swipe them to one side. Pick somebody that you think is going to be your big name, and start with that. What I wanted to say was something I meant to say at the beginning of the video when we were talking about, like, the people that are other and backstage, and you'll notice I didn't list Matt Hardy as an active competitor. Again, no disrespect. I just would rather use his creative mind.
Yes,
Now,
I don't feel like he offers much in the ring. I feel like someone like Christian is better.
oh yeah, for
I
sure.
don't want to say serviceable, but better.
Matt Hardy's
He's
beat
just
himself
better
up
in the
more.
ring. He offers more than Matt Hardy does right now.
Yeah.
Matt's not bad in the ring, but he needs those type of weird stipulation recorded matches.
He needs a situation that fits him, and it's harder to find what that situation is. But here's what I'm going to say, and here's where it ties into the main event. We know how creative Bray Wyatt is. We know how creative Aleister Black is, right? Imagine them in a feud, maybe over the title, with Matt Hardy on your writing team.
Oh yeah, I mean it could be incredible. Absolutely incredible.
As much as I agree with your Aleister Black thing and going with the new guy rather than one of the biggest names, I kind of want to see Samoa Joe as the first champion and get him knocked off by Killian Dane, only because that is Joe's a technical guy. Killian Dane, I'm sure, can be a technical guy when he's not handcuffed by WWE. I don't want a technical match from these two guys, though. No. I want these guys to beat the shit out of each other. When you talk about, you're not going to go from the main event to the lower card, but you're going to go from the main event to the mid card occasionally. Imagine the champion versus champion match you get between Killian Dane and Bronson Reed.
Oh yeah.
And then imagine that you could have had that in NXT.
There's so many matches.
Literally imagine that you could have had, this year, this calendar year that we are sitting in right now, 2021, Jake, we could have had that in NXT.
I know. There's a lot that we could have had that we didn't get to because of what? I mean, I'm not even, like you said, the TakeOver match will be good, and yeah. I know this for a lot of it, but I'm not excited like I was. I'm not, and I'm trying to be. I swear I'm trying to be, but it's just not happening. And why? No. Because I wanted to see, really, honestly, I wanted to see, Samoa Joe face an undefeated and, totally destroying Karrion Kross. And instead, that's not what we get now.
They put Karrion Kross on Raw and fucked him Raw.
They beat him.
I hate to say that, right? Because the losses that he has are against two other guys that I really like. I mean, I got a lot of respect for Keith Lee. You showed me the video today about where he's been, and everybody that has ever heard the sound of my voice knows I've been a mark for the Hardys forever. So don't put me in a situation, WWE, where I have to be pissed that Jeff Hardy won a match. Just don't put me, as a fan, don't put me in that headspace. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about all these other people that could be champion on a main event, main roster that has Daniel Bryan on it. So this is how good our company's going to be. This is going to be how good that Jake and Spaz's Released Wrestling Federation is going to be.
W.
With a W. Oh yeah, the Released. It's like, what's the YouTube channel? Wrestling with Regret.
Well, we used to do a long time ago with Okayfabe, Connor and I would do the wrestling retrospective.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Oh, so. Speaking of which, I'm totally stepping on Jake's toes now, just to say something that has nothing to do with wrestling. If you want to see some bottom of the barrel, the grungiest, Oprah / Maury Povich bullshit on YouTube, go subscribe to Top 10 Central. It is the best trash on YouTube. Go watch it. It's the best. It's people reacting to the viral videos that are out there, and it's just it's Karens at Walmart. It's everything you want. So that's my cheap plug. I think I've sent you a couple of their videos actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at this. Going across the way here, we've got Aleister Black as our main champion, potentially. Ruby Riott as our women's champion, potentially. I mean, I'd probably throw the tag titles on Shafir and Duke, just play up the whole legitimacy, actual combat sports wrestlers angle. Maybe put a mid-card title on Bronson Reed. Maybe put the low-card title on who did I say? Curtis Axel, or maybe even Ari Sterling. Yeah. We got good old dependable Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson as our first tag team champions, and a whole lot of other really, really talented people working backstage. If this was our Fed, Jake, we'd make money.
Oh, we would absolutely make money. We would make a ton of money, but I would care less about making money right away. I would want to get fans to enjoy.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But like, we would get the
we definitely
fans.
make money.
We would get the fans, and the fans would
And
give
make
us money. And the fans would give us money.
Like, one of the things that bothers me about AEW, and I know this sounds so hypercritical, but I don't often feel like things are special. And I know that sounds so stupid, but like the Cody match that was with Malachi Black, that was good. They built that up, I thought, enough, and they had the T-shirt for it. But all these like special nights and things, like they have T-shirts for each week, like, oh, Fight for the Fallen's T-shirt, oh, Fighter Fest, night 1, night 2.
Yeah.
And, they
I
have the
mean,
shirts.
not
So
not
nothing
not
gets
as
that
not as
unique
obnoxious, not as obnoxiously, but I got to be fair and say NXT's done the same thing too. Like, I've got Halloween Havoc merch.
But I'm not just talking about the shows. I'm saying, like, they've got some merch, but they like every day AEW has new shirts out, so nothing ever feels like when,
I get that.
Roman Reigns puts a new shirt out, you're like, oh, cool, a new shirt. But every wrestler gets a bunch, and it's just that not a lot of them look great because they're putting out so much.
See, what I would do, I would come up with something interesting with the merch where, like, definitely you can make money, but every wrestler gets, like, one shirt a year, and that shirt has the year on the back. And then in the new year, everybody gets new shit. That way the wrestlers look, as we go into, like, I would put my WrestleMania at the end of the year so that it's literally like a New Year's party, and every season or every new year of that comes along, like on the calendar, would feel like a new season of wrestling. I would do it with the gear. I would do it with the titles. I wouldn't put as convoluted a ranking system together as AEW, but there would be some checks and balances in place. But every year at the new year, at the end of December, would be a hard reset. And that way you keep everybody fresh. Nobody stays buried for too long. If you were on top the previous year, you were helping build the foundation the following year of your respective places, obviously. I'm not going to take our former world champion and have him fighting for the jobber title all of a sudden, but you can go back down to the bottom of the level that you're at, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
I think because, like, I don't think any wrestling company really has their big show at the end of the year. I think you put your big show at the end of the year, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, you hit the hard, massive reset, and I think it would be something a little unique that would make our brand great. But that's just something I pulled out of my ass as we were talking, so I didn't put that in the notes at all. I think
it's
this
certainly
was
something to consider. So
yeah, I think this was a lot of fun. I think this was a much more positive spin on what has been a whole lot of really bad news.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. People say, "Oh, what? You can't let people go, or they can't be fired." No, that's not the thing. Anybody can be let go, obviously, and anybody can be fired at any point. And WWE has the absolute right to dispose of whoever they like. It's just the point of look at who they're keeping versus who they're letting go. And that,
well, to a certain extent, because I mean, even the people you don't like, you don't want to see them lose their. You don't want to see anybody unemployed.
You don't, but in terms of like talent and how well people should be,
right?
given TV time and things of that nature.
Definite missed opportunities as viewers.
Yes. That's what I'm going for here.
Yeah, I will take both sides of the argument. I will take, hey, releases happen. I will take that argument. I will take the argument that releases are terrible, because there is weight to both of those arguments. What I don't like is the person out there that, that anonymous egg on Twitter that will tell you in the same breath, WWE are horrible for hoarding talent, WWE are horrible for releasing talent.
Yeah.
I get that there's sympathy in both of those statements, but you can't make them the same argument, because they're not. Anyways, I didn't really want to make this into a thing about the releases. I hope you guys appreciate that we tried to put a really sort of positive spin on what is a collection of about 2 years of really bad news. I had a lot of fun doing this. As always, I'm going to thank Jake for coming along on this creative ride. And
absolutely. Thank you, my friend.
And let's be real, you got to go soon because you got Joe stuff to do. So tell everybody where to find you.
Yes, I got to go now. So you find me at the Joe Cronin Show on YouTube, or you can go ahead and find me on Twitter at Countdown Ended.
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This guy over here has been Jake DeMarco. We have been your, I guess, all of wrestling reality check this time around. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and super sexy Jake DeMarco are tagging out. Bye, guys.